Need a little bit of space. So we'll start just by sitting up rather than lying down, which you could have done as an alternative if you're using this recording a bit later. But we'll start this with a nice upright position, so it's a little bit easier on the breathing. Let the knees and the hips open out a little bit. Spend a little bit of time just wriggling into a comfortable position, tuning into the pelvis and noticing whether that's leaning back or forwards or maybe predominantly to one side, and just trying to bring it back into a neutral feeling of balance, which balancing the pelvis doesn't necessarily mean that the rest of the limbs feel like they're in the right place. It can feel a bit odd because you get used to being, kind of squiffy in your body, which is the problem. So this is the cure. You have to kind of wriggle through and listen to how you feel rather than feeling how you feel. If that makes any sense at all. So sitting here, if you feel that you need to take a little bit of a neck stretch, you can do. You've got choices of just leaning the head out to one side or the other, and not putting any weight through the hands, just using the weight of the head. Alternative to that would be to let the chin drop in towards the chest and then make some very slow circles with the head. And we look out to the side and then start to look up towards the sky. But we don't look directly up to 12 o'clock. Go all the way over the opposite side, looking out the side window and down to the floor. And then we bring it back slowly the opposite way. Or you can sit completely still. If you feel that you would benefit from opening that neck and the shoulders out. You take it one way, and then you move into the opposite way. The whole time we continue to sit up nice and tall. And just let ourselves breathe very steadily, smoothly. Try and regulate the flow of breath. And by that I mean, avoid sort of that little gasp at the bottom or at the top of the breath. It sort of feels a bit rushed, and then you spend a lot of time with not very much else happening. Just try and bring it through the center a little. I'm going to let the head lift. Let's see if we can take some nasal breathing. So let's bring the right hand in front of the face. Use the right nostril and the thumb to connect and block off. Breathe through the left side. This does have the benefit of slowing the breath down. Take the breath in. Close the left side finger and little finger. Opening the opposite side, so thumb moves out of the way as you exhale. We'll take the breath in through the right. Thumb very lightly over the nostril to close and exhale out left. Breathe it in. Close. Open right to exhale. Just continue gently. Your own breath, own pattern. I'll let the hands come back down. Roll the shoulders around a couple of times. Loosen them out and stretch the legs out as well. Say hello to your ankles, knees. We'll move gently up onto all fours and moving the block out of the way towards the front edge of the mat. Take a little bit of time to make sure the hands are underneath the shoulders and maybe roll gently from side to side. Just getting a little bit of movement into the spine, into the shoulders, and a little bit into the hips. And come back into steady. And making sure the knees are right underneath the hips. I'm going to tuck the toe of my left foot underneath and slide the foot back. I'm going to take it out towards the right side, cross over as far as I can, trying to keep my chest and my hips square to the ground. Press out through the heel, try and lengthen that leg even further away. That means that you slowly move from having a vertical line going down your thigh to this front thigh, having quite a strong angle. You're leaning out to the side, your hip bones moved right up to the side edge of the mat. I'm trying to keep the spine long, just the hips have moved over. It's a piriformis stretch. It's quite good for the IT bands as well. We'll slowly bring that foot back, and then you're back under. Tuck the toes under, slide out, take it across. The other side, so right goes to left. Just feeling that stretching out through the heel. So we're going to try and do everything today in this class at sort of quite a slow speed. We're going to move into things slowly, we'll move out slowly. Won't spend a whole lot of time in the poses. We'll just kind of let ourselves ease into our own edge and then ease back out again. The idea is that we feel like we've had a stretch, but we actually feel like we've rested as well at the same time, which is a bit of an unusual feeling because the two sort of sound like they're mutually exclusive, but we can, by being conscious, join the two together. We'll slide the foot back, take a little breath. I'm going to slowly tuck the toes of the left foot underneath, lengthen that leg out again, slide the foot out to the side, but this time I'll bring it all the way out to the side, sort of 90 degrees. We'll tuck the toes of the right foot underneath and slowly sit back onto the heel. And try and keep the hands out in front, so I'm leaning forwards a little bit. See if I can get the sitting bone and the heel to touch. The leg that is out to the side, toes are up towards the sky, and I'm trying to lengthen out through the hip a little bit. So there's quite a stretch into the hamstring. You feel it around the back of the knee a little bit. Trying to keep the chest square to the front of the mat, the abdominals drawn in a little bit, just letting the chest lift forwards, and then ease our way back up, kind of pivot on that heels out to the side, bring the foot slowly back in, and then we'll do the same on the opposite side. So just lengthen it out, swing it a little bit past 90 degrees, tucking the toe under on the back foot, slowly sitting back down. Spin the chest a little, square, pressing out through the heel and sucking the thigh in at the same time. We'll come back up slowly. slide the foot back. I'm going to draw the left foot through between the hands, so fingers and toes line up and knee over the ankle. I'll tuck the toe on the back foot underneath and slide that foot as far back as I dare. Let the knee come to the floor. And bring the forearms up onto this front thigh and let the knee move forwards a little bit. So let the hips sink down towards the floor. That's actually a little trickier on balance than you might think. So if your foot is too close to the center line, you will really rock around a lot. You want to have that shin bone, the vertical line, down towards the floor. Don't stay here too long. Just kind of letting the abdominal muscles be relaxed so the hips can sink. And then we'll bring the hands back to the floor, move back onto all fours, and take the other foot through. Now, if you need to move the back leg away again, you can do, but there's a chance it might be in quite a good position there. And then you can let yourself sink again. It stretches out the psoas muscle. The muscle that wraps underneath the pelvis and comes into the front of the groin. We're just stretching that out. It's a muscle that actually attaches to your lower spine. Runs all the way underneath you and to the front edge of the groins. Actually hold your leg to your spine. It's the only muscle that connects the two up. We'll take a breath from there and bring ourselves back down to the floor. And allow the knees to be wide. Sit down onto the heels and let that forehead come to the ground. Now, if you need to, bring the floor a little closer to make contact with the head. You can bring hands underneath, like potato fists. You could use props as well. If you're able to get the head to the ground, you might find it relaxing to take the hands gently back towards the toes. As long as that doesn't feel like it's a big stress for the neck, that's a really comfy place to be. Now, the front of the forehead is a pressure point for the sinuses. So, if you're congested, this might not feel that comfortable, but when we lift, it will be a big release. Assuming that you can actually breathe, you can take as much weight into that forehead as you wish. And we'll take the hands forwards again. So lift up slowly. I'm going to come up onto all fours, move the feet out, allow myself to come feet forwards. And I'm going to have the strap close by as well. I'm going to use the block under the back of the head just to keep it nice and soft in the shoulders, neck area. Hands behind, I'm going to roll gently down. So make sure that the block is under your head, not pressing into the neck or the shoulders. Feet come together and close into the bottom. And just take the hand gently around the shin of your right leg. Slide the left leg out. Now I'm not going to press out through the heel, but I am going to see if I can press lightly the calf and the heel down onto the floor. So I'm not worried about length. I'm actually going to press the floor away just a little bit. With a chance, the right knee might start to migrate naturally out towards the armpit. So just let it move if that feels like it's where it wants to go. Use the path of least resistance. Always a good phrase. And that pressing down in the calf and the heel, the toes pointing up, but just activate the glutes a little bit on that side. Let's slide the heels back in and swap over to the other side. So lean towards the chest, slide the heel out, and where you think center line is, start to get a little push the floor away, focus in the leg, and as that's taking place, letting that left knee just find its own place to rest. Work and release from there as well. We'll slide the heels in towards the body, and we're going to take the one foot to the sky, playing around. Take belts around the right foot towards the sky. Bind the strap, you said confidently, around the fists, and then just allow the shoulders to rest down to the floor. So that provides the resistance for the leg to press in. I'm going to keep the other leg, a bent knee, out of the corner of my eye, to make sure that that knee points towards the ceiling. And then I'm going to try and press my lower back very lightly in my pelvis to the floor, along with the foot that's making contact with the ground. So the usual lifted leg pressing up towards the ceiling, the shoulders drawing down, those two having a little play with the resistance that I build. But at the same time, drawing that lower back pelvis flat to the floor, pressing very lightly, just a pound or two, just so you know it's working through that left leg. We'll begin to swap over to the other side. So if you're lucky, the legs are more or less the same length. You don't have to adjust the strap. You start to lengthen out, draw the shoulders down. Check your knee position at the corner of your eye. Press the pelvis, lower back, and your foot. Now I find it easier to connect into the previous leg and get that sensation of pressing down through the foot. On this side, it's harder to judge. And it's harder to keep the effort consistent. It sort of keeps coming and going. Like I feel it, I go, oh yeah, I got it under control. Oh no, it's gone away again. I'm just running through that little cycle in my own mind. So if you're feeling the same, don't worry. If you're not feeling that at all, don't have to worry about it. Take a little breath from there and release. So we'll just move the strap gently to the side and bring the feet close into the center line. We'll take the right leg to the sky and turn the toes outwards, and bend the knee, and just let the heel travel towards the side so the ankle is to the outside a little bit. And then draw the knee in towards the chest on my left side, keeping the right foot flexed gently. Now, taking one hand through the center and your left hand around the outside of the left thigh, you can interlace the hands. If you're able to get them around the knee easily, then that's great, but not at the expense of allowing the spine to round and becoming a little bit compressed and finding it difficult to breathe, we want the spine to be really long, shoulders back, which is using a little bit of strength in the leg and the arms to hold that knee combination in towards the body. So we're working well within our limits and just letting the body open up a little bit in the pose rather than compress down. And then again, we can release from there, stretch the leg out a little bit, put the foot down, have a little wriggle through the hips, make sure everything feels like it's back in nice alignment. Slowly take the left leg up, turn the toes out, take a breath, bend your knee, keep the foot flexed. We travel forwards a little bit, and then we slowly start to bring that right leg in. We'll take the hands around, whatever is easy to get without stressing the breath. As soon as you can start to feel yourself holding the breath in, you've gone a little bit further than you need to today. So listening to what you need as opposed to what you remember your body might used to be able to do, or you've done at different times of the day. Hopefully feeling pretty mellowed out whilst we're doing our yoga, letting our minds settle onto the mat and how we feel in our bodies. And then we can release out of that. Again, stretch that leg out a little bit. We'll bring the foot down to the floor, roll gently onto our right side, use the hands to press into the floor, lift up smoothly back into a seated posture. I'm going to come with the ankles underneath. I'm going to move that block out the way a little bit to the side so it's close within reach. Come back up onto all fours and start to move gently into cat-cow. Just rolling through, stretching out. Okay, going to come into neutral position. Lift up onto the fingertips. And then take some more cat-cow. It just changes the position a little bit. Changes where the pressure in the curves and the disc starts to take place. Obviously conscious that we don't put so much weight down through the fingertips that they start to cause us ill feeling. Roll the shoulders back, fold it through. I'll take one more. Round out gently, and then come back into neutral. And take the block between the heels, back of the mat. Come into hero's pose. I'll let the knees come together and the feet go a little wider. So as I sit gently back, able to put the sitting bones onto the block. Now, if you need more height, you can always put a second block or a brick under as well. Just make sure that both sitting bones are supported rather than sitting on your coccyx, which rapidly becomes uncomfortable. Let ourselves sit here for a moment. Roll out the neck a little bit. Roll the shoulders. Sometimes in each direction. I'm going to turn the palms up towards the sky and roll those shoulders back. Sit up tall. I'm going to move from here and slowly back up. I'm going to move the block out of the way. Allow the knees to go wide. Allow myself to sit back onto the heels. As I do, I'm going to bring the hands directly underneath the shoulders. Allow myself to bear some weight down through the wrists. Just press that index finger into the floor. We'll take cat's paws. We'll rock a little bit from side to side. And then when you're ready, you're going to turn the hands sort of fingers point out, thumbs point forwards. Head position isn't too important, but you do want to be able to breathe easily. So generally, keeping the head in line with the spine is a better way of doing that. And then from here, we'll turn the fingers towards ourselves. I'm going to walk the hands as far forward out as I dare, which can sometimes be a little bit of an experiment, to allow the heel of the hand still be on the floor. The thumbs are pointing out, fingers point towards. Everyone's got a different amount of space in the wrists, and everyone's got a different amount of tension in the tendons and the ligaments. So the amount of movement range that you've got is going to be different from person to person. And a lot of people will be struggling just to rotate their hands around and have their hands directly underneath their shoulders. So anywhere between there and right to the front of the mat is good, as long as it feels comfortable. Take a little breath from there and let ourselves lift up gently again. We'll just turn the palm up towards the sky and stretch out the other side of the wrist carefully. It just takes a couple of seconds to kind of get it to feel like it's come back to life. And then we're going to take that block behind again, behind the toes. So you want the feet to be about as wide as the block is. And we'll roll the heels onto the block and let ourselves come into a squat. So you can choose whether your feet and knees turn out or whether they point forwards. The majority of people will find it easier to keep the feet and the knees pointing in the same direction, but some people not the case. If you're able to take the hands away from the floor, if you feel confident in your balance to do that, then you can just rest your arms on top of the knees. Otherwise, fingertips on the floor. But if you're able to get up a little bit more upright, you can open the chest a little bit easier, more, and it just makes that breathing a little bit easier. The shoulders can relax down rather than fingers on the floor. They tend to be hunched a little bit. It gets a bit more congested in the lungs. This is trying to open up the hips and open up the chest at the same time. So although my bum's going to stay in the same place, I'm actually trying to lift my chest up a little bit. It draws the belly in. Allows me to breathe more then into the ribs because the diaphragm's being held in. Now, we're going to slowly let ourselves come back out of this. Two ways. One, put the fingers on the floor, lean into it, lift the bum up, walk off the block, then lift the head and shoulders up. If you want to take it a little more dynamically, you can take the hands out in front and start to press down into the floor. Keep the belly drawn in. Just using those arms for a little bit of balance, let yourself lift up. Either way, we come into a standing posture. Then we're going to move the block off to the side, just for safety reasons, but find the point to focus on. I'm going to bring the feet together. Allow yourself to take the hands, palms together out in front of the groin. And lift them up towards the sky. And then when they're above the head, just stretch out. And then the hands come back down again. So working into the shoulders to start with. Inhale up. Stretch up as tall as I can. Relax you back down. We'll do that one more time. Stretch up through the shoulders. Ease that down. This time we're going to let the eyes follow the hands. I'm going to see how far I can take the hands towards the back of the mat. Just taking a little back bend. Careful not to overdo it. Bring the hands back. So keep looking at the hands. The head is dropping down. Chin towards the chest. Inhale up again. Using a little bit of an up and over. Take one more of these. And step slightly off of the mat so that I'm on slightly flatter surface. Bring the hands in towards the heart. I'll lift the elbows to about the height of the shoulders and then draw them out. See if I can have the hands come into a little bit of a cactus space. Now take the weight into the left leg and just place the right foot in front. And then see if I can take the weight into both legs. I'm going to slowly start to turn the body towards the right, keeping the hips pointing forwards. Come back to the center. You have to make more efforts to keep the hips pointing forwards. So generally I find keeping the head pointing in that direction helps. And you're trying to keep the elbows in the same position to the shoulders and the chest that we started with, which was basically a nice straight line. So we try not to fold the elbow in. Oops. And now bounce. Drawing ourselves back. Imagine you just parked your bottom into a bicycle rack and you're stuck there. Old-fashioned bicycle rack, maybe. Hips can't move you. Just rolling the top of your body around gently. Those arms and shoulders will get tired quite quickly. Don't worry, we won't be here for too long. Come back again to the center and let the arms come down. Shake it all out as you step gently into the feet with the opposite arrangement. So that left foot is forwards. You start to press down through the feet. Get the legs to engage. Bring the hands in towards the heart, elbows wide. Then we'll take them apart. That's our starting position. We'll go to the left. Come back into the center. Cross over to the right. Shoulders relaxed, but the elbows lifted. Both legs working evenly. Trying to keep the balance. Seem to have very little balance today. After having a couple of days of having really good balance, teaching classes with lots of standing poses. Struggling today to do the simplest of tree poses. This is a challenge. That's why I'm not talking very much. Come back into the center for the last time. Those elbows come down, shoulders, just step it out and relax it again. Just give it a little shake out. So we'll come on to the front end of the mat. So bring the hands in towards the heart, take a little breath. I'm going to turn to my right and take a big step and come into a star shape. So whatever's easiest to see the screen that you're using, if it's to one side. And then let the hands lift up in line with the shoulders, but try and relax the shoulders down a little bit. Turn the feet towards the front mat, so the back and the front foot move, and the front foot moves down the center line of the mat. Then we can sink into warrior two. Press the back foot down into the ground. Take a few breaths here. Just looking through that middle finger. Opening the front of the chest. Apologies, I forgot to turn the sound off of my mobile phone. Take a little breath from there. Ourselves to lengthen out over the front thigh. Take the forearm down. Lift that top arm up slowly and take it out towards the front of the mat whilst we try and turn the chest up towards the sky. And we'll come back, warrior two. And we're going to palm on the front hand. I'm going to take one arm up and one arm down. And then start to walk that bottom hand down the leg. So I'm trying to keep the distance between the arm and the ear the same, rather than dropping the head or bending the elbow a lot on that top arm. I'm just trying to keep it straight like it was when I was lifting up towards the sky. I'll come back to warrior two. Bring the hands in towards the heart. I can leave the back foot where it was, turn the chest and the hips forward, lean out over the front leg, press an imaginary force away, then bring the hands to the floor, spin the back heel towards the sky, let myself step gently into a forward bend. Hang here for a moment, fingertips on the floor. With as much bend in the knees as you need to, with the weight of the toes, the head hanging. You're going to press the feet lightly into the floor. Try and lift the hips high. And bring the hands off the hips. Soften the knees, lift up slow. Roll the shoulders round again. Let the knees bend a couple of times. Just let the blood move around the body. let everything balance itself out. And then we'll turn to the opposite side and take those legs out wide again. So just easing our way in, comfortable distance. Decide how big a stretch that is going to be this morning. Let the hands float up, roll the shoulders down. Turn the toes into the front of the mat. And sink into the front knee, warrior two, pressing the back foot down. We'll bring that forearm down to the front thigh, top arm up and over towards the front mat. Lengthen out, roll the chest up towards the sky. Hips over the center line of the mat, head following the line of the spine. Fingertips reaching out energetically. Slowly come back up into our warrior two. One arm up, one arm down. Getting used to the idea of how far the arm and the ear are in terms of closeness. Walk the back hand down the back leg. Try not to let the knee bend. Slowly back into warrior two. Hands coming towards the heart. We're just slowly rotating towards the front of the mat. Leaning out, still pressing into the back foot. The hands down to the floor. And we can lift that rear heel. Take a little breath. And step into the forward fold. That's come some kind of a miracle that, according to the plan, we were supposed to get there at 44 minutes in front of the mat. We arrived there on the second. That doesn't happen very often. So we're staying down here for a moment. Nice hips lift up and getting a nice strong stretch in the lower back and into the glutes and the back of the hamstrings. And then from here, we'll just step back gently into a plank. The knees come to the floor. We'll take child's pose again. But I'm going to keep the knees relatively close together rather than wide and bring the hands underneath. So starting to impede on the diaphragm a little bit, so we breathe more into the ribs. Try and relax the shoulders out. And then we'll let ourselves look forwards again. As we come up, we're going to work our way onto our chests and bellies. So we're stretching the legs out gently, taking the feet deliberately hip distance apart, and bringing the hands underneath the shoulders with the elbows tucked in towards the body, so the Shoulders feel like they're drawn back a little bit. We're trying to squeeze the elbows together. In a low cobra, inhale, keeping the legs and thighs attached to the floor and the heels rolling out if we can. Exhaling down. Inhaling up. And exhaling down. And just following that through. Feel my feet and hear my feet squeaking along the floor. I doubt the microphone's picking it up. It sounds a little bit weird in this room. Let the hands come back down to the floor and out in front. We'll turn the palms inwards so the little finger is on the floor. And then draw the shoulders back a little bit and lift the chest and see if I can hold that position. I'll take a breath from here and see if I can press the thighs in, sorry, the belly into the floor a little bit and actually start to lift the thighs away and then the toes away from the ground. So the top of the body doesn't really move, it's just the bottom part from the waist down that's moving up and down. So low cobra, we did the upper half of the body, and we could obviously feel the lower part of the body helping. This is the lower part of the body moving, and hopefully a little bit the feeling of the upper body helping by pressing down into the hands as well. Keeping those shoulders back nice and strong. And then I'm going to bring the hands just underneath the chin for a moment, elbows out wide, and rock the hips out from side to side. And slowly take the hands out off of the mat into a press-up starting position, but then come up onto the fingers and thumbs. Squeeze the shoulder blades together and away from the ears. Press the thighs down as you exhale and lift your chest up, pressing into the fingers lightly for gecko pose, just lifting up gently and then bringing ourselves back down. So very unlikely that you'll ever get your arms straight to lock in this pose, because first of all, that's not the point. Secondly, you need to be some sort of contortionist. Just remember to exhale and draw the belly in, lengthen the chest up out of the pelvis, easing your way down. And just as we have through all of our class this morning, taking it very gently. So the muscle fibers are working more constantly, but it gives us a sense of working a bit of a less low level, which allows us to work the muscles without building any sort of lactic acid, without feeling like we've pushed or exhausted ourselves. We should feel the session finishes with more energy than we started. And we're doing that by conserving the breath and energy as we go through. So I'm going to lift for the last time in this pose and bring myself back down to the ground. Now, if you're able to see your screen easily and are able to, just roll gently onto your spine and allow yourself to come into a flat spine, feet close in towards your bottom, and arms out wide, arms facing up. We'll take the left leg to the sky on the breath in, I'm going to cross the legs so that the ankle bone is just to the outside of the thigh. It looks very much like that fig four position. Only this time I'm going to take it into a twist. I'm going to let the legs roll down to my right side very slowly. Using the exhale to let it descend. See if I can get the left foot to touch the floor on the right side. Turn the head towards the left. And keep that left knee pointing a little towards the ceiling. Work our way back up. The leg out. Bring the foot down. Take the opposite leg high. Cross it over. Ankle to the outside. Foot lightly flexed. When you're ready in your own time, just roll it gently. And we're trying to get to a point where we can bring the right foot flat to the floor and the knee pointing up towards the ceiling. Turning the head is optional to the opposite side. Try and keep the shoulders relaxed on the ground. And we'll slowly bring ourselves back to the center. Untangle the legs. Slide the heels to the corner edges of the mat. Let the hands come a little closer to the side of the body from where these were, but not completely in. Wriggle through the shoulders and the hips, fingers and toes, loosen the jaw. Eyes closed, we're just going to breathe into Shavasana. We're going to try and relax down into the ground. Let ourselves sink through many layers, many feelings of release. So stretch those fingers and toes. Some ankles. Breathe a little deeper. Feel a little more connected. Take a stretch. Allow the heels to slide along the floor back in towards your body. Give yourself the easiest gentle hug you can manage. Roll down onto the right side as I breathe in. Use the hands on the floor and the press out and exhale to come back up to sitting. Just put myself in a comfortable posture. Let the body lengthen out. Bring the hands in towards my heart. So close my eyes. Take a long breath in. Slowly exhale in and chin drop. Drawing the belly to the spine, sealing our practice. Inhale takes place, lifting back up. Lifting the head, open the eyes. Namaste. Thanks for coming. See you on the mat soon.